So I'm building a raised floor for the game room because with the computers needing network cables, the video games needing network cables, the TVs needing network cables, I didn't want to have to pull all those cables under the crawl space and drill a ton of holes, bringing them all up, in their different areas. So we're going to raise the floor 3 inches, similar to what they do in a data center. Of course, they usually do a foot or two. And we'll be able to just pull all the cables through the floor, pop a little hole through the raised floor panel, and in the future, if I ever want to move them around or add more network devices, I can just pull a new cable through the floor and I'll be good to go. At the same time, I need some outlets in the floor for like the gaming chairs, because they need to actually plug in. So even though the audio is wireless, you have to plug them into the wall, and since we want to be able to have them in the middle of the room, I don't want to have extension cords laying across the floor. So we'll pull power from one of the outlets through the floor and put a box in the floor. I looked at buying some systems and they were super expensive. I mean, even the plastic ones would have cost me about $1,000 to do this job. So I'm going to build my own using 3/4 inch particle board and 2x2s for the legs, and I'm going to make them 2 foot by 2 foot squares, because originally I was going to do like 18-inch because that matches carpet tiles, but then I decided I wasn't going to put carpet tiles in there anyway. I'm just going to get a big area rug, so there's no point in me cutting each floor panel to the size of a carpet tile if I'm not going to use them anyway. So I'm going to do 2 foot by 2 foot squares. I'm going to build a jig to help me drill the holes and put the legs in so every single one's exactly the same. So let's get started. Alright, so I bought 4x8 sheets of particle board, the 3/4 inch, but they're super heavy and bulky for one person to move around. So I had them cut them in half at the store, so they're all 4x4 sheets now. And then I'm going to measure them all to see which one's the smallest, and then I'm going to cut that in half, and that's going to be the actual size of my floor panel. So if one is only 47 inches and then you cut it in half, you minus the 1/8 for the thickness of the blade, that will decide the size of each square. And then I'll set up my fence to that, and I'll just cut them every one way and then the other way until I end up with a pile of whatever size tiles I end up with about 2 feet probably. And then we'll set up cutting the legs 3 inches each, and then after that we will make a jig to place the legs and attach them. Alright, so they're all 47 and 7/8 because of the thickness of the blade that cut them all in half. You happy now, Bob? Alright, so now I need to cut 1 billion 3-inch legs. So I'm using a stop block here, and so I can just slam it in, cut it off, and just keep going. I got 16 per square to cut, and then we'll make the jig to attach them. Alright, so this is the design. Originally, like I was saying, it was supposed to be 18-inch squares, and it was designed with 9 inches on the outside. So as if this was a 9-inch square, 9-inch square, 9-inch square, 9-inch square, and then I just added the difference to take the 9-inch squares to make them 24. I tested this with the 9 and 9, and it was very sturdy, no flex. You know, I jumped around on it. I know it was going to be good for a floor, so it's not going to feel saggy or anything like that. So I know this extra about 6 inches down the middle is not going to have any impact when it can do the 9 inches without problems. So now I have to figure out how to make a jig to place all of these, since I have to make a ton of them, and then I will go in and lay them out and see how they lay on the floor before I attach all the feet, because some of them I'm going to have to cut. So, but I got to figure out the jigs first. I need a jig for drilling holes, because I want to countersink the screws, so I have to drill all these holes on the other side. And then I need a jig for holding the blocks in as I'm screwing them in. So I'm not really sure how I'm going to build that yet. So considering I've done all this work, and this is my first real injury except for raw knees when I was doing the roof, I had one of my blocks catch, because as I was cutting the last of those few inches that I couldn't use the whatever. Anyway, I was riding them along the fence, the blade grabbed it and threw it into my stomach. Alright, so I found some scrap 1/2-inch particle board, and I cut it 1 inch bigger, 2 inches bigger actually on each side, so that I could center this up 1 inch all around it. So the idea is I'm going to cut holes in the 1/2 inch, and I cut 2 of them so that I can stand it up. So in theory, you know, there'll be a hole in it like right here, and then I will cut some spacers so that the other 1/2 inch board is right here, and then I guess I'll put a, I don't know. This is where I'm going. Let's see what happens. Alright, so I cut all the holes in my second one, and I actually had to make them bigger because this is going to be the top one. So these guys need to, you know, slide through, and then it could be tight in the other one. So let's measure these out and see if we can get them up with the right distance, and I'll just stick some blocks here to hold the two together. Alright, so I put 2-inch blocks in the 4 corners, and then these were scraps from the ends of the 2x2s I'm gluing on so that every time I place one of these in, it'll be in the right spot. So I just need to glue these 4 blocks in between the 2, and then I should be able to just throw glue on top of each one of these, put the panel down. I'm going to make another one that will fit because there's a little bit of a lip here, and I'll be able to pre-drill, take that off, countersink, throw screws in, and then I should be able to pull this whole thing out and fill the blocks 16 and do it all over again. Hopefully it works out alright. I might need to force it out, which the legs will stick through, so I'll be able to bang them out from the bottom, and if I have to, open these holes a little bigger so it's not so tight. But we'll see. So I was laying these out for the same reason you would normally lay ceramic tile out. I started in that corner and I brought it across, and you end up with a gap right here. Well, when you're putting ceramic tile down, you don't want to draw your eye towards this gap. So what you do is you half that gap and you slide the tile over, and you put a trim piece here and then another one that matches on the other side. So it's the main tiles are even. But what I realized is that doesn't really matter for me. So like over here, I've got it right up against the wall, and over here I end up with about an inch gap, which normally I'd say, okay, well, trim off, you know, to fill that gap type of thing. But coming back over here, normally you wouldn't want to have a piece like this, but it doesn't matter for me because this whole wall is going to be an entertainment center. So that'll probably come out, you know, and cover that anyway. So it's just really going to be there to hold up the entertainment center. So I'm going to go ahead and leave it like this. And the reason that one's out is because there's a cable, which this is an example where normally I'd have to put a notch because that's for the satellite. So when I mount the TV up on the wall, I'll have to notch that out and run cables up the wall. So otherwise, I think, besides the fact that I actually don't have enough pieces, or at least I don't think I do. I'd have to measure these gaps to see if this is more than 12 inches, then I don't have enough. I think it's going to work out really well. I might just get another sheet and cut it up and should be good to go. And then here's the other template piece. So this is just a piece of wood I had laying around. It fits in here perfect. So all I have to do is put the drill hole pattern in it, and then I'll know where to drill, take this off, countersink, and we'll be good to go. So it works pretty well. I check to make sure that I'm not trying to put screws into knots. Just drop them all in. Some glue on. I'm going to mark the holes. Drill. And there it is. Start the next one.